So the name of the game is OEM integration. And all that really means is how do we get the sound that we want in some of these modern vehicles that seem to keep on throwing out obstacles, such as, the signal or OEM features, and who knows what else. Well, the folks at Lynxwell seem to have cracked the code on this conundrum because their packages are all in. And we're going to find out exactly what that means. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, all about Lynxwell. And it starts now. What's going on, guys, and welcome to another CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and you are tuned in to CMA Networks, where we talk mobile electronics day in and day out. On the menu today is Lynxwell, the brand that brings you the XL T-style radios. You know what I'm talking about. Those big replacement screens that absolutely are loaded with features, customizing everything you can think of. But really what we want to find out today is how this all works and what you need to know as far as what's included in the box, what applications you need to know about, and everything else in between. But to do so, we're going to bring in our expert today. We've got Victor Chavez standing by. Victor, welcome to CMA Connected. What are we going to be talking about on today's show?
You're absolutely right, Ben. We're excited about this particular episode because we're going to talk about not only what's included in the box, we're going to talk about special different vehicle applications and how every single one of our dealers can take advantage of the resources available to them.
All right, Victor, we'll get into it, but first an opportunity for our partner SiriusXM to remind you why it's always a great attachment sale. And when we come back, let's get into what makes Lynxwell so unique and why it just might be the best option for you. We'll see you after the break.
Hey, Paul here with SiriusXM, and I'd like to talk to you about attachment selling and why the SiriusXM product is one of the best things to add, especially since we don't trade dollars with any other category. I could go through all of this, but let's hear what some of our dealers have to say.
It's an easy add-on that takes, 10, 15 minutes if we're running an antenna, 1 minute if we've got an adapter to plug it into the factory SiriusXM antenna, and it's extra money, so no brainer.
I present it to every customer because a lot of customers don't know what all they can do with Sirius. They don't know what all content they could have. It just makes too much sense not to sell it.
It creates a different customer loyalty and customer security when you explain to them why it's a better experience. Just gets them back in the door. And then the next car, they're already asking for it again. So it just keeps selling itself. It makes more sense.
Well, there you have it. You heard from our dealers. Just remember some of the best practices. Make sure you have one on display so you can demo it. Make sure you're taking advantage of our rewards program, because if you're not taking advantage of that, you're leaving even more money on the table. Make sure you got our POP up on display. And other than that, just make sure you're recommending it.
And welcome back from the break. I want to, of course, welcome our good friend Victor. Victor, thank you for being with us today. Victor, today I really want to dig in because I want to make a point of just how unique Lynxwell is, not only as a brand, but also as a company. And we're going to go through several different things that we're going to touch on that really illustrate, what makes it so different or what makes Lynxwell so different. So let me throw it over to you first. I know that you have a lot to say because Lynxwell is not just another radio manufacturer, are you?
Well, you know what? I'm a mouthful when it comes to what we do and how we do things here, Ben, only because you touched on the first one. Like we are the manufacturer. One, we're not relying on any third-party integration company to help us with CAN bus modules or steering wheel control retention modules or backup camera retention modules. But that's the core, and that's what makes us very unique and very special. But one of the main things, and I think it's the main thing that makes us special, is we do all of our testing, all of our development is done in USDM vehicles. I mean, I've got a 21 to 25 F-150 behind me, and guess what's going on behind the scenes? It's development, it's R&Ding, it's test fitting, it's CAN bus decoding. So all of that stuff is done with vehicles here. And one of the things that I'm excited about is, as a company, we don't just go and rent a car to test it in or develop our product in. We don't just borrow somebody's vehicle to test our product and develop it. As a company, we buy the vehicle and we develop our product. And then guess what? Once our factory comes up with 3D printed models, preliminary CAN bus module releases, software updates, we install it, we start driving it. And if I had a little more time, I'd show you a 3D printed piece that's been in this truck for almost a year. and how I now have an actual mold printed model. The 3D printed model one, it's warped, it's chipped,
Right.
it's cracked.
Yeah. You know
Right?
what? I'm kind of lucky, a little bit spoiled, guys. I apologize in advance. I've had the luxury of seeing some of these pre-production templates that the LinksWell guys use to, again,
Yeah.
like Victor's saying, test fit, make sure it looks right, because that's really important. When somebody is investing the kind of money that they are into one of your kits, because it's all inclusive, including the trim panels and all that, it's got to look like that OEM fit and finish, right?
Yes. And again, I mean, in addition to that, right? I mean, I have videos of myself in the field test fitting, the models with the armrest, without the armrest, with the console, without a console, different trim panels. I've got a multi-tool on me. I've got a cutting wheel where I'm modifying the 3D printed, bezel, and I'm
Right.
recording it, taking measurements to show our factory where the adjustments need to be made. And so again, that's what really sets us apart and it makes us very unique. Not to mention the fact that we are a passionate group of individuals. I mean, we love the industry, as small as we are, a lot of people don't realize that we do rely on each other a lot. And so that's what kind of fuels my passion for all of this. I don't care, who you are. If you're an industry professional or an industry affiliate, man, I love you. I got respect for you. And if there's anything we could do to help you, we're here.
I love it. I love it. And if you haven't hung out with the Lynxwell guys, they're a pretty good time. Just want to say. All right. I got a list of questions we've been meaning to ask. We've had comments from viewers over time, and
Yeah.
I've got you here now. I'm gonna drill you with some of these questions. So, one of the comments that we get sometimes is, how come when I open up your box and I go to install a Lynxwell T-Style XL, let's say, why is it not working straight out of the box?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think it's one that needs to be clarified and explained. And my short answer is it's not supposed to. One, because remember, one SKU is covering 3 different trim levels of the same vehicle. You'll have a base model trim that does not have the heated seats, cooled seats. Maybe it doesn't even have dual temp controls, the auto AC climate controls. Maybe it only has single temp. Maybe you have to disable heated seats, cool seats. So those are the reasons why it is not going to work right out of the bat. And one thing that a lot of dealers don't know, and I'm going to share this with you now, is they go on the backup camera. Hey, the radio's not triggering. I can't see the camera. Well, you probably haven't set the AC climate control for the vehicle correctly. So the CAN bus or the software packet that makes our radio read the vehicle when it's in reverse so that your backup camera could be seen is also in the same software packet that your AC climate control settings are. So a lot of these things are related. So when somebody goes, hey, my backup camera doesn't work, my question is does your AC work? Does your steering wheel controls work? And I'm expecting the answer to be no. And when they say no, I already know they haven't set it up correctly because they are all related to each other.
What you explained right here, Victor, is something that I thought was very important to get across. You guys have to understand, these are not radios that just do volume up, volume down. These are radios that are completely integrating into your current factory settings. And we all know these newer vehicles do a lot more than just music, right? They have system controls, they've got chimes, they've got warnings, they've got cameras. So to your point, Victor, it's impossible to come up with a model that's completely turnkey out of the box, because that would mean you'd have to have a specific package model for every single trim. The variables are just too many. It makes no sense. Okay, so I think you answered that question. This, however, it kind of leads me to the next point, and I think there's a point you and I will both agree on, and everybody else will. If you're going to commit yourself to selling this type of premium product, you have to commit yourself to getting familiar with not only the products, but also the processes. So talk to me a little bit how important that is.
Well, you're absolutely right. And that's a really good point because, one of the things that we see, we hear, we experience a lot is a lot of guys will call and they'll say, hey, it's my first time doing one of these radios. And you know what? I'm trying to get this thing done. And, the fact that he said it's my first time doing one of these and hasn't taken the time to really learn about the product, know what you need to do with the radio. The minute you install it, you plug it all in, you turn the key on. That right there tells me that it's his lack of effort from the industry, from the installers, taking the time to learn all of this. Because a lot of times, we may have all three or all four of us text or on the phones, and somebody will be waiting on a question for us, and it's something as simple as, oh, I've installed your vehicle, your radio, but the heated seats, cooled seats don't work. And then we're like, oh yeah, it's in the settings menu. It takes us like 10 seconds to help him out. But he's been waiting for 10 minutes. Had he taken the time to educate himself and understand how all that works, it would have not had to require a phone call to us. So it's important that you take the time to educate yourself and learn the product so that when you do go do one or two or 10, you do them like you've done 100 already, simply by watching all of our tutorial videos and installation videos that we have on our YouTube channel.
Now, if you guys haven't checked out the YouTube channel, both Victor and our boy Jonathan does a great job. I mean, they're literally 1 hour long step-by-step videos. If you need to go that route, they even cover some of the frequently asked questions stuff, and they even have a podcast. So definitely check that out, LinksWell YouTube channel. All right, you ready for the next one, Victor?
Yes.
I got a good one for you because I've heard this myself. So I said, this is the time to ask. What about when people, okay, they're sold, they see the giant screen, they understand the integration is included, then they see the price. And they're like, whoa, hold on a second. Why are your radios so expensive?
I think I mentioned this previously in this video. I'm a big believer, Ben, of price being an issue in the absence of value, right? If what you're looking for, we have, and you're giving me my money's worth, right? Meaning product quality, service, warranty, and support. If all those things meet, and it's what I'm looking for, and I can afford it, at that point, price really doesn't matter. Because again, I'm able to, one, if I have an issue with my product, there's a dealer that I went to go buy it from, I could go back to them, right? The product quality, that's not a question. 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of built-in, processing, built-in memory. You got CarPlay, Android Auto. The quality speaks for itself when you see these things in person. So again, the price, I would say, I would tell people too, when you buy one of our radios, you're not just buying an electronic piece of equipment for your vehicle. You're buying an entire support system. And a company is there, not just the dealer you bought it from, but the manufacturer is also here to help you, support you, and help you should you have problems with any one of these 4 things that we talked about earlier.
I've got 2 points I'm going to add to that and layer to this conversation. Number one, everything you said is 100% accurate, and I agree wholeheartedly. I also want to mention the fact that, are you comparing apples with oranges? And what I mean by that is, if you're talking about a radio, number one, is the screen of the other option as big as the one you're talking about with Lynxwell? That's number one. Number two, what about the integration side? Have you taken into consideration the integration module that you would have to buy on top of the radio to accomplish what the LinksWell radio does? So again, if you guys are going to compare the price, take everything that Victor said and add what I said. Are you comparing apples to apples? That's the one part. The second part to this is, when it comes to selling, the LinksWell radio, this is not, how can I say, it's not as simple as a deck and 4. Okay, let's be honest. This is not just, hey, you want better tunes? Here's a LinksWell radio. No, this is for the customer that already has probably a decent, display of some kind, but wants the ultimate. Let's be honest. You guys make the ultimate. And ultimate, guess what? Comes at a price. And that's what I want to say about that. Okay. Moving on to another very important part here is the support. Now, you mentioned support. This might make some people upset, but I'm going to say it anyways. Not all Android-powered replacement radios are created equal. What do I mean by this? Guys, we've all seen customers come in with something they bought from a X online store that's easy to buy. It promises it does this, it has this size, it has this RAM, and all this kind of stuff. Then you go to find out something goes wrong, or you have a problem or whatever, that there's nobody to answer your call. That's part one. Part two, have these products actually been tested here in North America on our vehicles in the climate that we actually survive and live in? I want to hear your comments on this.
Well, the thing is, a lot of what you see on the X websites, these are overseas companies that are trying to take a piece of the North American market based on price, And if that's what they want to compete in, they're marketing to the wrong market, because we North Americans are different. We look for quality. We look for all the different, things that I mentioned to you earlier, right? I mean, I bought a big TV from a large retailer, and 3 months later it had a problem. I wasn't a happy customer then, but the fact that I was able to go back to that retailer and they were able to take care of me, I was happy again, right? Now, again, my $1,600 smartphone also glitches on me, but it's not, where it was made. It's who's behind the product quality. And I'm able to contact them, reach out to them and say, I'm having an issue, and they're able to take care of me right away. All that comes, with a price tag, like you mentioned earlier. But again, it's just, that's what sets us apart, is the fact that we are testing our product in USDM made vehicles, and we are developing products for this particular market. As like I mentioned earlier, we have a vehicle right behind me that's going through that process right now.
All right, Victor, this next final part I kind of saved for the end, and I'm going to apologize to reviewers right now because it seems like we never get to this part, and I don't want to discount what we're going to talk about here, because what we're going to talk about is sound quality. Make no mistake, this is a high-end unit. And sometimes, Victor, I feel like we don't get to the sound part because there's just so many other elements to your LinksWell radios that we never get to it. So this time we're going to make it a point. We're going to talk about the sound quality, because look, anybody who's going to invest this kind of money, of course, there's the size of the screen, which is going to play a big factor in their decision-making, but also the chances of them wanting to have a better interface and ultimately end up with better sound is super important. So Victor, I want you to talk about what Lynxwell has built into your units to ensure that the customer who wants to build their sound quality to the next level has everything they need with the Lynxwell unit.
Right. No, it's definitely a good topic. And I think, it is one of the most important topics. I mean, we didn't grow up with iPads, the internet, the different applications, the YouTube, the Netflix, the TikToks. I could go on and on. We didn't grow up with that. What we grew up with was good audio. We went to sound competitions, and we went to car shows of cars that had loud and good sounding audio systems. So again, coming from that background and understanding that industry, good sound output out of our head units is of the utmost important thing. I mean, for us, being able to have a built-in DSP where you can obviously equalize, where you can change time delay without having to measure the distance between your ears and the speakers, being able to adjust different crossover settings for the different outputs of the radio. All those things are very important. And yes, having front, rear, and subwoofer RCA preamp outputs is important, but so is having a good voltage output out of those RCA, the RCA outputs. And our units have that 4-volt, preamp output. But in addition to that, and a lot of people don't take advantage of this, and I think they should, because it'll definitely develop and produce an even better sound signal, is the fiber optic output known as the SPDIF or SPDIF or Toslink out. I mean, I've built a couple of the company demo vehicles using our 10-channel DSP amplifier. And I tell you, man, a lot of people that jump into those cars, they're like, wow, why does it sound so clear? Why does it sound so clean? It's because we understand the name of the game. We know what we're doing, right? And I don't say that to brag. I say that because we know what the North American market likes and what they're looking for when it comes to an aftermarket radio replacement.
Hey, Victor, man, thanks for coming in today. I think we covered a lot of really good topics, and you straight up answered every single question I could throw at you. I want to comment on the fact that, and circle back, that you're sitting in the Bay. Like, this is Lynxwell right here. It's not just engineers. It's not just marketers and salespeople. Like, you guys are always working on the next vehicle, the next application. And that is something to be said about that, because you're doing it right here on our soil.
Yes.
And, I'll give you this last word. What message do you have for people tuning in saying, you know what, I want to give Lynxwell a chance, or maybe come back to it?
More than anything, listen to your customers, right? And understand that all of us that are 40 plus, we grew up with, like I said, audio. We grew up with, we purchased sound quality. We purchased big bass. We purchased audio. We are the ones who made all of the already existing brands. But the fact is this: all of the existing brands didn't bring us innovation. They aren't bringing us technology, real infotainment displays into today's vehicles. Remember, today's consumer didn't grow up like we did with audio. They grew up with technology. They grew up with applications. They grew up with the YouTube, the Netflix, the TikToks, right? And so the more of this that you can put into their infotainment display in their vehicle, the more excited they're going to be. So, like I said, listen to your customers, find out what they really want. And if you're gearing them or guiding them towards a floating display that requires a third-party integration module, that requires that you go out and search for all these other interfaces, look at that total. And if that total equals what we have, or maybe for a little more, they can get something bigger and better, talk to them about it and let them be the ones to make an informed decision. But what I would recommend that you do is take the time to educate and update yourself with today's technology that is only coming from Lynxwell.
I'd like to take this opportunity and thank my special guest today, Victor from Lynxwell, for sharing with us some real deal details about what Lynxwell is all about. And hopefully I asked the right questions that you wanted the answers to. Now, like Victor had mentioned during the show, if you want to find out more details, I recommend you head on over to their website found at linkswellinc.com. So if you haven't figured it out by now, Lynxwell is a super unique product. It does big screens with big interfaces, with big options, and a lot of integration solutions all built into one package. In fact, it almost can't be sold like a regular source unit normally is sold because it simply isn't that. It isn't what people find online at those big X online retailers. In fact, it's its own thing. So if you can take the time, dig in, do the right research and education, and figure out what this thing is, I think Victor put it best. Customers today, they want the technology. They want the gizmos. They want the interface. They want the size. Well, Lynxwell delivers. You just have to figure out how everything works and make sure your customer knows that too. That's it for this CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.